Hey guys, it's Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner, and this is not cardstock. No, this is not cardstock. Instead, I am playing, second time, with some felt. I am actually going to make something out of felt. There are some new designs that just came out at Spellbinders. Absolutely lovely. This is all designed by Miss Nicol Sphor, which she is fabulous. And she has done a lot of things having to do with felt in the past. Like she's used regular card making, crafting dies, some larger ones, and made little ornaments and stuff with them. So I am going to be making myself, all these bits here are going to make a little felt reindeer. Yes. Here was what my plan was. On Thursday night's live stream, I made most of the way the candy cane because I figured it would be the easier to go with, and it's fun. So I'm almost done with that one. I just got to add these little bits on and then add something to make it an ornament because this one I'm going to have as hanging on my tree. And I'm going to cut out more and do some more stitching and maybe make some more ornaments for my tree or to give to my mother-in-law or something like that. Anyway, I decided, well, I'm going to go ahead and start die cutting the things out and get them all ready for me to start stitching. And as soon as okay, this is it. I popped out the little antler and I need to stitch. So that's the reason I'm recording this part now. I'm also going to be cutting out the fox. So I may or may not do the stitching on camera. I may save some of this for doing during a live stream, either here on YouTube or over on Twitch. I go live, if you didn't know, I go live on Tuesday nights at 5 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube. And I go live on Twitch around noon. And the ones on Thursdays, yeah, I never know how long those are going to last. I've been live for a couple of hours, and then I've been live for 6.5. So just pop in anytime afternoon over at twitch.tv backslash Debbie J's Crafting Corner to see what I'm up to. Because a lot of times I'm actually recording videos for you guys over here while I'm hanging out with some of my crafty buddies over there. And I would love for you to come and hang out. Anyway, we're going to be making the reindeer. So let me clean the rest of this off and we're going to get started. So here are all my little bits to put together my cute little reindeer. Let's go ahead and go back through those because you do need to do more than one of several different things. You've got 2 different antlers. The die set does come with separate. And one of the other cool things on here is that the ones that you need to use multiple times have got a little tab that says how many times you need to do it. So this piece is for the body down here. So we've got 2 of the antler, 2 of the body, 2 of the back hooves and the front hooves. I've got those out of dark brown. Then we've got our little hat. We've got the belly of our reindeer. We've got 2 different sizes for the ears. So you need 2 of the large and 2 of the small so that you have a little layering ear. We've got the body. We've got the head, and then we've got the head with the face. So we need 2 different pieces there. This one is a little bit different because that's where you're going to be stitching on the little face, his little muzzle. So we've got that piece, and it's got a little smile. That's fabulous. And we've got, of course, his little nose that I chose to do red because why not? And we've got his 2 front legs. And each of the front legs you need to cut out twice. Okay, so we've got 2 of the right and 2 of the left. Okay, and the reason that I'm doing 2 so they can stitch together so they are more stable. One thing I have noticed with the felt that I'm using, because I didn't have felt, I had some orange and I had some black because Halloween, right? And then I haven't used it in like forever. So I had to go out and buy a bunch of felt. Anyway, we're going to get started with the face. I'm going to do it in the order that Nicol did it on her video, because I don't really know what needs to go first and what doesn't, because these pieces are going to basically fit together. So the type of stitch that she recommends doing is called a running stitch. I had to go back and look in her video because my brain doesn't always want to work. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. I picked out some floss that is close to the color, not exact. I've got a ton of floss. I wasn't about to go out and buy more just for this specific project when I have generations of stitchers. I've got their supplies. It's like I've got mine, I've got my mom's. I've got my mother-in-law's. I've got her mom's. So yeah, I've got a lot of floss here. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the back, and I'm going to go through one of the holes here. We're going to start off with this little face, and we're going to, first let me see if I can get it lined up. Another thing I was noticing about the felt is some of them are thinner than others. Like the one that I'm using for the main part of the body, to me feels a little bit flimsier than some of the others, which means you have to be careful on the brands. I basically had to buy multiple brands, because they were, I was needing the right colors. Now, Spellbinders has got felt, and that is fabulous. I'm going to go ahead and poke through the holes. I also noticed that as I'm die cutting, all of the little dots don't necessarily come out, just like when you're die cutting and everything with paper, right? So if you want to see where everything's supposed to line up, you're going to have to clean those out a bit, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick, and I'll be right back, guys. Okay, so I got enough so I could see where everything was supposed to be. You guys know what it's like. This is the first time I've done this, so no, don't hold it against me. I did go through the front, mostly just so I can make sure I got those two lines lined up. And I'm going to pull that back through because I don't need it to start from the front. I need for it to start from the inside, okay? We don't want any of the stitches seen. So I'm basically going to just do that running stitch that she talked about. And at the beginning, you'll want to make sure you're going through the holes correctly. And you want to be gentle because since this is felt, there is always the possibility of ripping it. And if you rip it, then you're going to have to start over. So I'm going to be pretty careful with this felt just because I know that this is some that is not necessarily as thick or strong as some of the others, which I did not realize when I bought it. I was just going for the color. Okay, now I'm going to skip the next one. So it came out this side. I'm going to skip the next one. I'm going to actually go into the next hole. See there? And then come out through the front in that next hole. But we're going to have a gap in between each of our stitches. And that's what you want. You want to go around the entire way. And then on the second round, you can go back through all of the ones that you skipped. So that's what we're doing with this running stitch. Okay, on the back, you can see that a little bit better. So that's all that I'm going to do. I'm going to go all the way around, and then I'm going to come back and do the little mouth. Before I get too far into it and with the music and all, one other thing I did want to mention is that what Nicole recommends that you do is you use 3 strands of your floss. Floss normally comes in 6-strand bits, right? So we're basically splitting that in half and using 3. So I've got these 3 that I'm using here, and then I've got the rest of my 6-strand sitting off to the side because I will need it at some point. And I basically picked some, I think I already said this, but I'm going to say it again. I'm using some thread that mostly matches the color that I'm using. Some of the colors I'm going to be using will match, I'm sure, perfectly, but it doesn't really matter. This is going to be cute. So now that we're all the way around, we can go through, when I go through this next hole, I'll be starting to fill in all of those spots. Okay, so now we have his little muzzle on, and we're going to just tie that off. Just tie it in a little knot. And I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to his mouth. Go ahead and stitch that on. So I'm coming in from the back. This is for the mouth. I'm using some black thread so we can see it. And making sure I keep a hold of the tail so it doesn't accidentally come through. I'm going to just do that same stitch that we did before. And since we're doing it in black, we'll be able to see his cute little mouth. Okay, going back in through the next one. And we're going to go all the way down, and then we're going to come all the way back. So now that we're at the back, we're just going to come back and go the exact same way, filling in all of those gaps. And then we'll just tie it off. There's his cute little face. Okay, so next we've got his nose. Now the nose does not have any stitching on there, but I think I am going to tack it down with some thread. One thing that Nicole did, I think this is genius, is she used a lighter color thread to make a little highlight. So let me grab out some white. And to make sure that it stays where I want it to, I'm going to just add a little bit of liquid glue to the back. So let's go ahead and just add a little bit, add that little accent that's also going to help hold it in place. That's cute. Okay, I'm going to go over it a second time, and then I'll tie it off. Oh, his little face is coming together so nice. Now we've got his two little eyes, and I think I'm going to also add those on with some liquid glue. And then we'll stitch them on. So I am going to add a little highlight with some white floss. Okay, that I think is going to work. We go through it one more time. And then we'll tie it off and do the other eye. The body of the reindeer does not have holes cut for where the belly is supposed to go. So I went through first off and popped out a lot of the holes from this really lightweight dark brown that I'm using. And I am convinced that this is probably not the best stuff to use for this. So be careful with it. I would say make sure that you get something thicker, because I am afraid that at some point some of my holes are probably going to rip. So I'm still going to be careful with this. One of the good things is that since we're not doing a stitch around the fabric, we're going across it. We should be building up some strength there, so hopefully it will turn out okay. I'm going to go ahead and stitch the belly on there, just positioning about where I think I need it. You can see there's the holes down at the bottom, so we can stitch our reindeer together. I don't know that I'm going to stuff this little guy, though. He may wind up being just a flat embellishment or flat ornament, or whatever we want to call it. I might add a little bit of stuffing, but I'm not sure. I want to add stuffing, but I'm afraid that it's going to rip if I do that. So we shall see. If I had to go back and do it over again, I'm not sure where I would get felt. I probably would have to order it online and wait for it to come in, meaning it might not be here in time. I may have to go ahead and do that still. Anyhow, I'm going to play with what I've got right now, though. You know, always use what you have. And this is also a learning process, right? We learn as we create. We learn as we go. So there we are with the little belly. And next we're going to start stitching together the back and the front of our little animal here. And yeah, we're going to be using a darker brown thread for that. So I'm being very, very careful. Like I said, this is some thin felt. And I'm starting the stitch on the inside. Okay, not the back, not the front, but it's between the two. So I came up through one and then went back through the other. So when I end, I'm going to have this tail that's going to be on the inside, and that's going to be a great place for me to be able to tie it off. So now that I'm most of the way around one time, I have not done the second time, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of fiber fill into this very carefully to hopefully get it to go in without ripping anything. Yeah. Like I said, this is really delicate, especially at those edges. All of the little holes are right close to the edge. And yeah, I want to make sure I don't have problems. I am holding on to the string that is going to be tying the other end. And I don't have a tool that is actually going to work well, I think, for putting the fiber fill in. I actually got a bag of stuff over here. I'm shredding it to make it, I don't know, fluffier and easier to manipulate. So hopefully it will work. And I'm just going to use my finger tool and just be careful not to rip out any of those stitches or rip out the felt. So just be careful. And you probably are going to have better felt than what I'm using, because hopefully you will have watched this video before buying all of the things and made sure that you got some that was going to be, look at the little tummy. Okay, that's going to work better for you. Of course, it's hard to know just looking at the packaging and touching everything in the store. It's hard to know what it's going to be like until you actually die cut it if you've never done it before. So I'm not expecting this to be my best little guy. It's just going to be my first little guy. Okay, I am going to try using my little cricket thing here to see if I can get it down into, I'm not going to get it into the legs. It's just not going to happen. I can get it into the belly, but I cannot get anything down into those little legs, because if I do that, it's going to just rip, and I don't want it to rip. Okay, so once I get done with this, I'll go ahead and finish going all the way around, and then we can tie it off, and then I can start my second round. Okay, so I've closed it up, and I've gotten to the end here where we've got that first thread. Now you notice I've only gone around it once. I'm going to go ahead and tie it off. I don't have enough thread to go all the way around it again, and that is totally fine. You know why? Because, yeah, we can do another thing of thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put in one more stitch to go into the inside. Right there. I'm only going through one layer, and then I'm going to tie it off into a knot. And I'll start another one going around a second time, and then we're going to fill in all of those gaps. I'm hoping at this point, so far, so good. I keep thinking something is going to go really, really wrong, but so far, so good. Look at the little body. So cute. Anyway, I'll go around again very, very carefully and go through all of those stitches to make sure that we've got that nice, smooth running stitch and make sure that it's nice and pretty. And hopefully nothing is going to rip. So far, I have not ripped any of those holes. So far, that's what it looks like. Let's go ahead and cut this thread off, and then I'll get started on the next one. So again, I'm going to come in from the top and go from the inside through one of the holes. There we go, right there. Okay, that one, it didn't work. Let's try another one. So in between the fabric, in between the felt, going through one of our little holes. And again, holding part of the tail out so that we can have a place to tie it off at. And I think having it tie off at the top is probably a good idea, because that's where we're going to be overlapping pieces. And that means that this will not be seen, even if I wound up tying it off on the outside, which is not what I'm going to do, but I could. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just fill in all of those little holes, those little gaps. Okay, we're all the way around there, and it's looking good so far. I'm loving it. I'm going to go ahead and finish that up. Okay, let's go ahead and attach those legs to the front of the body. Now, there are some holes on the body right across the front there, and that's where we're going to be attaching our little legs, okay? So I'm going to come in from the front on the inside of the body. Actually, I think I'm going to go all the way on the inside, so it's not quite so close to the edge. And we're going to just start there. And again, I'm going to make sure I'm holding the tail so I don't lose it. Don't lose the tail. And we're going to just stitch through the next hole there. And then we can attach his little leg there. And I think that should be right about there. I think that'll be good. Okay, and we're just going to attach it on there with that same kind of stitch that we've been using. And it's only a couple of stitches, so I'm already on my way back, filling in those gaps. So I'm going to use some hot glue from AdTech. This is a cordless glue gun. I'm going to use that to add some, there we go, to add my pieces on. So this is what I'm going to use to glue my feet on. I figure that's going to be a bit stronger than liquid glue. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. And like I mentioned before, I am covering up some of the areas that I wasn't 100% happy with the stitching on. So we're going to do that, and we're going to go ahead and add on the back hooves too. So we're doing his front and his back hooves. Let's lift up his little arm there. Oh my goodness, this guy is going to be so cute. I'm probably putting down a little bit too much hot glue. Oh, I love it when little details like that start making everything look like what it's supposed to look like. You know, you start a project and it looks like, I don't know about this. And then you start adding those little pieces that really make it start to come together. Okay, now we'll put his last hoof on. And now that looks like a body. That looks good. Love it. Okay, this is going to be too cute. Okay, so next we're going to be adding the antlers and ears and the back of the head. So all of this has to be stitched together, which means this is going to be a little bit hard to keep together, right? So I am going to try using some clips like what Nicol is doing. I don't think mine are actually big enough to do that. So we're going to have to see. I was going to try to do it that way, and what I decided is that, yeah, those would be in my way so much, it would really, really bother me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start stitching this little guy down at the bottom, get him stabilized, and then I can start working on the ears. So I'm actually going to start right at the bottom here. That's going to give me plenty of space to work with. And just like we did before, I'm going to have it going in from the inside. So I've got the tail hanging out, and then we're going to stitch the two pieces together, being very gentle with this thin felt, and work our way around. So I'm just doing, right now we're doing that first row of stitches. Okay, I think this is about where I want his ears, so let me go ahead and, like I do with all of my cards, I'm going to do a little bit of auditioning to see if this is where I want them, and I'm pretty sure that it is. Yeah, that is where I want it. So let's tuck the little ear in, and then I'm going to tack it down with the next stitch. Okay, I did a couple of stitches for the ear, and now I'm placing my antler in about where I think I want it, and making sure I've got enough of that extra right there. See, I've got it tucked in there well enough. And since the last stitch was in the back, we're going to come from the back and go to the front. And that's through all of those layers of felt. Okay, so now I can finish going up the head. And then when we come to the other side, we can start adding our antler and ear on the other side, doing basically the same thing in reverse. Okay, let me make sure my antler stays in. There we go. Okay, and again, I'm being careful with this lighter brown felt because it is a little delicate. Okay, so it looks like we're about in place for our antlers. I think it's perfect placement. So I'm going to put one more stitch in, and then we're going to add our ear. And I think as soon as we get done with the ear, I'm going to need to tie it off and get another piece of floss. I'm actually going to do this more carefully. I'm going to go through each layer one at a time to make sure that I don't rip anything. Let's add the ear back. I am tying these two pieces off after putting that second ear on, and because I had basically run out of floss. I didn't have enough. So I am basically tying it off in between the layers of felt. I'm going to go ahead and start on the inside with this piece. And there is a little piece of the felt that ripped earlier. Not happy with that, but it is what it is. Like I said, this is fine felt. So I'm just missing that hole a little bit. So I've got a little hole left. And if I had been following what Nicole did, she started actually at the top. Okay, this would make a good finger puppet. That's cute. Anyway, yeah, she started at the top, attached this to the body, and then added the fiber fill before adding the other ear. Now, I don't really like that my ears are pointing out to the side, but that's okay. This is my first ever attempt at one of these. So I'm going to put in a little bit, not a ton, but I do want to make this poof out a little bit. I would like it to be kind of a little plushy. Since we've got a dimensional body, we want to have a dimensional head, right? So I'm just going to add some fiber fill in there. Until I get enough in there so it's the right shape and makes me happy, but not so much that it's going to make it come apart. Oh my goodness, this thing is cute. Yeah. This is adorable. Look at our little deer. Oh my goodness. Okay, gotta add some more. I do have a hole in there. You can see that. So I have space where it's not going to cause a problem. I am also holding my thread to the side, so I'll be able to finish the stitching. And I think I need just I'm probably doing more than I need to, but just a little bit more, I think. I'm going to call it. I'm going to say that that isn't enough for our little head. Look at him. I think he's adorable. This is going to be so cute. Okay, so now we're going to stitch our head onto the body. Now those lines that I attached the legs to, that is actually where we need to attach the head. Okay, so let's do this. So my last stitch came out through the front, I think. Actually, it came out through the back. It's in the center now. Is that right? Because that hole decided it didn't want to hold. So I'm going to stitch a little bit further away from the actual hole so that it'll be secure. I was wrong. This actually came out through the front. Okay, that's fine. Just rethreading my needle. This thing is so handy. And although I picked mine up at, I believe it was at Michael's, it was either Michael's or Joann's, it turns out that we also have that on the Spellbinders website, so that's fabulous too. Okay, so my head needs to go right about I think that looks pretty good. Right about there. So I can go ahead, actually, just looking at the back, I can go ahead and add it to the body at this stitch. I thought I was going to need to do a couple more stitches first. Okay, so this is probably going to take more time than the rest, and it's going to be a little finicky, so I'm just going to be extra careful, extra cautious. But I think that is perfect placement for our little head. Fabulous. Okay, so our little head is attached. I do need to finish this little hole here. And then we can start working on our second round around his head. Okay, so I've made it all the way around, and now I need to tie this one off. Okay, so our little deer is mostly down. Now, there was one area that I did have a bit of problem with, and that's over here, and that is because the felt definitely started shredding, and so I did some additional stitching and moved his ear back up a little bit. I think I may be able to position his hat. If not, I can always make some holly and berries from my candy cane set and use that as an embellishment. So we're going to do it the same way we do with our cards, guys. If you make a mistake, it's just an opportunity for embellishment. So I'm just picking a place that I want my pom-pom to be on the hat. I'll just put it right about there, I guess. And it doesn't matter if they are lined up with the holes or not. And actually, I discovered that Nicole doesn't actually use the holes that are in here. Let me poke a hole there. There we go. But she doesn't actually use one. Actually, I think what's going to be easier, I'm going to just start going through the red. We're going to go through, leaving a bit of the tail so we can do our thing, you know. So we can tie it off. And then I'm going to come back through the next stitch. And then we're going to start attaching our pom-pom. There we go. And I'm only going to get this started like this because what I'm going to need to do shortly is start adding it to the deer. Okay, so we're going to go through that hole. There we go. I just need enough to get the pom-pom in place. And I think I'm actually going to just shift it off to the side a little bit. We have a deer that is pretty much offset anyway, so, you know, he'll still be cute. Okay, so now our pom-pom is attached. And now we can start stitching our hat together. And then we're going to start putting it on the head of our reindeer. I think that's going to be good enough. Okay, so I'm going to hold it in place here. And now I'm going to start stitching through the antler and through the ear and all the things to start attaching him to attaching the hat to the head. Okay, so we don't need to put the white on yet. I'm just going to continue stitching our little hat onto our deer, and then we will add the trim later. Okay, let's see about putting our little deer's hat about where I want it and clamping it onto his head so that hopefully I can get it on his head where I want it. I think I want him around... I think that will work, so I'm going to just clip it on right there, and then I'm going to continue stitching. And the hard part is going through the multiple layers of felt. Okay, so now I have it attached to his little head. I just need to finish working my way around. So one thing that you may have noticed is that when I'm putting the hat on, I've got part of it on the front and the back. I didn't realize that I did the head wrong until after I finished. So the head is actually, the body's supposed to be tucked inside of the head. So just so you know, for when you do it, don't do like what I did. This doesn't really look all that good. But like this is the first one I've done, so yeah, I'm gonna live with it. I think this is still pretty cute. I'm learning a lot as I'm going, and that's part of the adventure, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, now that I'm done with this piece, I'm going to go ahead and tie it off kind of behind the pom-pom. Again, it's where I'm tying it off in between the two layers of the red felt, but behind that pom-pom there, so it's mostly hidden. And now we can start adding our white. So I need to grab out some white floss. So I'm going to start adding our little trim to his hat, just like we've been doing with pretty much everything. Starting it so that the end is going to be inside the hat. And I'm going to just run this through. I'm going to try to go with the holes that are there. So we've got the front on, and then now that I've got that started, I can add the one that's on the back. Okay, place that one in place. And try to have it lined up on the end. And then we can just go through. There we go. And then go back through the next one. And I'm just going to put my needle through to make sure that everything is lined up before I commit. And it looks like everything is pretty much lined up. Okay, so we're going to go with it. So I'm almost all the way around for the first time around, and then we're going to do the same thing we did before. I keep saying that. I feel so bad. Anyway, we're going to be doing that fill stitch on all of the stitches, just like we've been doing with every bit of stitching we've done so far. Okay, so I am going to go back in the front, and I'm just going to tie this behind there, and then we're going to start again with a fresh piece of thread. This time I'm being a little bit smarter, and I'm starting in the back because I don't really want the thread to be seen from the front, just in case, right? So I'm going to go ahead and start doing our fill stitch from back here, leaving that little bit out, and we're just going to go on all the way around the white just like we've done before. So as you can see, I really don't like that area. So I went ahead and stitched up, just like I did with the candy cane. I stitched up a couple of the leaves and the little berries background piece. I was going to go ahead and add some sequins and add a bead to it, but the sequins that I have do not have a hole. So I'm not going to stitch them on like I had intended. So instead, I've got my glue gun heated up over here. And we're going to add a sequin into the center of each of those. And I'm going to do it with this side because I can still see the stitches on the back. And that's going to be the part that we're going to glue down. Glue down. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue. Oops, that's actually more than what I wanted. And I'm going to put one of my little sequins, if I can grab it, down into the glue to hold it. Now, this is more glue than what I had actually intended, but I'm going to say, I think I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to actually do the same thing 2 more times. Basically the same amount of glue. That little extra shininess will be fine. There we go. And one more. And we're going to grab us one of our sequins. Pop that right down into the middle there. There we go. And now I'm going to add these with hot glue over that place on the hat that I don't really want showing. Okay, we've got one. Let's add the other one. And then we're going to add our little berries down. And I'm probably putting more hot glue on there than I actually need. But there we go. Now we have a cute little ornament. If I can get rid of the little spider webs of that to go on our tree. I think this turned out super cute. I hope you enjoyed this, and I would love to see it if you decide to make your own little deer to go on your tree. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.